Well, Senator Elizabeth Warren is still hoping that the president keeps his promise about student loan forgiveness. She held a press event yesterday in which she reminds us that canceling $50,000 in student debt would give 36 million borrowers permanent total relief. While the country is struggling with any kind of stimulus or tax credits or anything like this would be a direct stimulus to many people who all of a sudden saw this liability erased from their balance sheet and free up some cash so that people could actually get ahead. She still wants the president to do this. It doesn't seem like he's all that interested right now, but thankfully she's got a name and she at least can keep this top of mind, even if nothing really happens. I'm not very confident that much will happen, but we are reminded about it.
She is a very powerful member of the Senate, right? I mean, she along with Chuck Schumer have pushed for this $50,000 in student loan debt. They know how much trouble Democrats are in right now. We showed you the Gallup poll yesterday, right? The number of people who have now flipped parties, saying that they are no longer identifying as Democrat. The largest switch in Gallup's history within the past year. In 1 year since winning the election, in 1 year, that huge dramatic shift. So they need something. One thing that the president can do with the stroke of a pen is exactly this. Imagine the millions of people that would be affected by this. I mean, look, not to be cynical here, but they need voters.
Yes.
And if they want to excite the base, if they want to excite young people to come out and vote for President Biden, be like, you know what? They'll be like a lifelong supporter of President Biden in much the same way FDR was for putting together New Deal proposal or New Deal packages that even if you're a Republican, you support you support FDR.
I just feel like they don't care at this point because if they know Trump's going to win, they think that that's going to carry him again. I just think they really do not care, obviously, because every time they propose anything, it always gets stripped out.
I don't understand your pronouns.
Democrats, the people, the Biden admin, the Democratic Party doesn't seem to care about that because they are not passing anything that people want. The progressives aren't fighting for anything that people want. I really don't think they care about that stuff because they're just not Republicans. Like they think that just because they're not Republicans, they're going to get that vote anyway.
Oh, they're just sort of like taking, yeah. Well, that's the old story that they're not going to obviously vote for Trump. So of course they'll come back home to roost. Of course they'll come back home to vote for me, right? Because they're not going to definitely vote for Trump, right?
Right. But she points out that this is the time when the president could use executive order to just not go through all the rigmarole that we've been through in the last 3 or 4 months, where a divided Congress continues. Yes. Yeah. This could have been at the very beginning.
Yeah. Like all these things he promised, he could have done day one with legalizing marijuana, the federal college loan debt, expand Medicare, expand all that stuff. Like he could have done it all, but this shows you that he obviously didn't want to, because he's like, no, I want to make it be bipartisan. I want to, talk to the Republicans and work it out so that it's a bipartisan deal. That was more important to him.
He did say originally he was interested in between $10,000 and $50,000 of retrieval on the campaign trail. Then it solidified into $10,000, and now it's zero. It seems like the party line is, well, we tried. We had some of this in the drafts of Build Back Better, and we just had congressional opposition. So we tried. It's not our fault. And that sort of makes the rest of us forget that, but you still can. You have the power to. Yeah,
you have the power. And more than 80 Democratic lawmakers signing this letter saying, hey, Mr. President, sign this executive order and immediately cancel all of the student loan debt. 36 million Americans would be affected by it. $50,000 in student loan debt. Do it. Up to $1.6 trillion in 2021. And so, these students who are having difficulty finding jobs are saddled with all of this student loan debt in this economy right now, as those interest payments are now starting back up again. Right now, the student loan payments are now starting back up again. It's acute for so many people. I mean, I just would imagine. Can you imagine? Think about all of these potential voters. I hate to be cynical about it, but just think about all these potential voters who would say they might not even know the president's name or care, but they find out one afternoon that wow, this guy who's in the White House just canceled all of my student loan debt. I'm going to vote for that guy.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you need a win right now. You know, this is one quick way to get a win.
Okay,
Yeah,
but
but
you
it-
have to
again-
remember that this is federal student loan debt,
Right.
right?
It's not private.
That's what I was
And
just going
so-
to say.
Who gets paid back when people pay those loans is the federal government. The federal government lendeth and the federal government collecteth, right? So does the federal government want to do that at a time when interest rates are going to rise? Because student loans, that most of the time their interest rates adjust. Unless you have a fixed one, which most of the time they adjust with the usury Federal Reserve rate. So the government will give itself a raise when the Federal Reserve increases rates. So why would they want to cancel that money when they stand to make more when rates go up?
Well, and all you got to do is watch Biden's complete, like his past. He laid out the perfect blueprint of what he was going to do as president because he's been against everything that he said he was for during his campaign his entire career. So why were we surprised when he didn't expand Medicaid? He wanted to get rid of it, you know, and all this other stuff. Like he's been saying this stuff for 40 years, and all of a sudden, like the 2000, I still say the $2,000 checks that would go out next week was his biggest failure because that's what got him in there. And then he did not go through with that the week after he was in office.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, well, I thought you're right. I mean, I thought he would have uplifted or, he had that $10,000 student loan forgiveness. That was his campaign pledge. And he could do that with the flick of a pen. Just sit down and do it.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I don't know who's giving them this advice. Like, he really thinks that this needs to go through Congress. Has he met Congress? He was in Congress for 20 years. He has to know what a failure Congress is.
Right.
You're not going to get anything done that way. So just sign the friggin' bill.
Well, and
I mean,
when you
Chuck
listen
Schumer
to it-
yesterday at this press conference, Chuck Schumer and Elizabeth Warren calling for the president to get rid of this $50,000 student loan debt. Again, reiterating it. The majority leader in the Senate and one of the most powerful members of the Senate Budget Committee, Elizabeth Warren, calling on them to do this. Would be
Yes.
transformative for America if they would do this.
And we reported last week that 2% more student loan debt was taken on in 2021. So Grimskull in the chat points out that this is not going to solve very much because this will continue because people are still taking on student loan debt. He had said that we would get at least some community college in Build Back Better.
Right.
Didn't happen.
This needs to work in
Wasn't
tandem.
even in the final bill. But if the Democrats really want to give some stimulus, right? You can stimulate the economy by either putting money into someone's balance sheet, right? You add to the assets, or you remove the liabilities. Then all of a sudden people's net worth is higher. Then all of a sudden people have the cash to do other things, pay down other liabilities, maybe build and invest, right? This could free up a lot of money for a lot of people and act as a stimulus. So if they were really interested in stimulating the economy, this is a gimme, right?
Yeah.
It would just take money off of the federal government's balance sheet, but it's not money they already have. It's clearly not money that, we're comfortable operating with debt and operating in the red.
Well,
so
and if you listen to Psaki and you listen to Biden himself with his address the other night, he thinks and they think he's doing a good job. They think that this economy is flourishing.
Right.
Like that's what they're trying to tell us, that this is the best economy we've seen in 38 years, he said.
yeah.
Where?
for some.
Where is that good economy?
for some, well, certainly it's good on Wall Street. It's good for CEOs.
Exactly. And that's all he cares about. Nothing has fundamentally changed for them other than it's gotten better. It's fundamentally changed for us.
It's like Trump 2.0 when you have Trump was so concerned about how the stock market was doing. The stock market for him was his bellwether of how well
Yes.
his administration was doing, even though they're not tied together at all. I mean, it has nothing to do with anything. Apple earnings has nothing to do with what President Trump is doing. But anyway, nevertheless, that's how, we tie ourselves to this Wall Street matrix, and that's how it goes.
Well, and just real quick, in Eastern Oregon, I paid $4.15 a gallon for gas just while I was
smokes.
traveling.
Wow.
I was shocked by that.